welcome back to my channel. This is Mike and I'm going to be working on my 2011 Audi S5's sunshade. Now I do live in Texas and garage my car for most of its life. However, there are days where it is parked outside in the Texas sun, and unfortunately the fabric has separated from the railings and is in need of replacement. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to be trying to open this just to kind of get it out of the way. See how it's kind of binding. We'll just kind of try to open it as best we can. Now that I have the sunshade open, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the ignition so that I can tilt open the sunroof. We're going to be taking off this rubber, but it's sitting inside this little groove, and we're just going to pry it out along the entire edge. Now the top piece is glued to the glass, so try not to pull on this too much because we do not want to separate it from the glass. It's getting tighter and tighter because the glass here is still connected at the front. So if you can't get your finger in there, you might need something like a little screwdriver or tool. This is plastic, so I'm not worried about scratching anything, to kind of get that last little bit of rubber out of the groove. So I'm going to put my microfiber towel here for protection so we don't scratch the paint. And then I'm going to lift this rubber piece out of the way. Now bring my microfiber in. Now I'm going to use this pry tool and I'm going to place it right behind the fastener. So there's this plastic trim piece on the inside which has a fastener, and I'm going to be putting my pry tool on this side right behind it, and I'm going to be pushing in to try to pop it out. At the same time, I'm going to reach inside the door and come around behind the plastic piece and get my finger right on the end, and I'm going to try to use my finger to pull on it at the same time that I'm pushing with my pry tool. So let's place our pry tool at the right spot, and once I have that in place, I'm going to reach around with my other finger and I feel the end of the plastic, and I'm going to start pulling on the plastic, and then I'm going to push with my pry tool until it pops. I'm going to go ahead and remove my microfiber towel, and we have to now perform another step in order to get the plastic trim piece all the way off. Alright, so this is the metal bracket, and of course here's where I was putting my finger to try to pop loose this fastener that's right behind this. Now this metal piece was bent inward towards the center of the car as I was pulling this out. Now we'll straighten this little piece of metal when I put it back in. But now that this is loose, we are going to need to kind of pop out another fastener before we can slide this piece towards the rear of the vehicle to get it out. I'm on the inside of the car now looking at this trim piece on the passenger side. This trim piece covers 3 screws. Now this trim piece itself is held in place by 3 fasteners. One fastener we just popped loose here, another one right about here, and then another one at the end here. Now this particular fastener in the middle has kind of a locking tab, and in order for us to slide this plastic piece backwards to get it loose, we need to pull out this plastic trim piece enough to where this locking tab disengages this hole, and then we should be able to pull it backwards to get it out. And now that it's popped out here in the middle, we should be able to kind of slide this last one out of its hole by pulling it in this direction towards the rear of the car. So here was our tab that we took off first. This was the second one here. And as you can see, it has kind of a bigger hole towards the back and it's smaller towards the front. And so as the trim piece is slid forward, it'll kind of lock itself into place. Same with this one here. There's a bigger hole on the right and then the smaller end towards the front of the vehicle. Now I'm going to remove these 3 Torx screws, and it's a T25, and we're just going to start on this end. This one is loose, and I'll try not to drop it so that it doesn't disappear on me. Alright, so at this point it's probably slightly loose on this side. Now we got to get the driver's side loose. I'll start with this side. Next, we need to remove a screw in the sunglasses holder. There's going to be one T25 nut right up in here. You can go ahead and close that, and now we're going to take down the overhead console. I'm going to take my pry tool, and the best place to pry is either the left side or the right side right here. You do not want to pry at the end here because there's 2 little kind of hooks that hook into the headliner, and you do not want to be prying there. And then from this side, once this comes down, it'll just hang off the cables. I'm gonna leave those attached, and just make a note of these side clips. So this is just kind of to hold it in place, and that's why we want to pry from this location right here. It's the easiest. And then here's the front 2 clips, and this is the reason you do not want to be prying from the front, because that's going to be hooked into the headliner. Underneath the overhead console, once that's removed, there's a tiny little screw. This is a T20, which we need to remove, and it's right next to this motor. Now this screw that we just removed is attached to the front side of the glass. It allows it to pivot. This should be the last screw that we need to remove in order to remove the glass. So let's go ahead and remove the entire piece of glass now.
I'm up.
So we just set the glass to the side here, and this is what it looks like without the glass. So as you can see, the fabric is totally off the rails, basically. The glue came off. Alright, so here is the old assembly. So we need to remove this screw here on both sides. And then there's a bracket here that kind of holds the entire shade to the vehicle. And so there's a screw here, here, there, and then of course one on the other side. So we're going to take the screws off with our Torx 10. Alright, so as you saw, that just shot back, which is the tensioner. So you can see it here. Alright, now I'm going to take the other bracket loose, and this is under tension, so as I screw it, I'm going to hold on to it this time. Alright, so it's detached, and now if I let loose, it's going to go all the way back. The two screws that came out of this metal aluminum piece are actually slightly different than the screws that are on this bracket, so just keep those separate. So now we're going to take off the 4 screws that hold in the Rollo shade. So now I got to remove the bracket, which I just unbolted. Take out these pins. Try to get underneath it to pry it up. There we go. So that's one, and now we got to do the other side. Get a little screwdriver right here, push it forwards, and then the entire sunshade's gonna move. And as you can see, as I push forward, there's a metal bracket here. This is sliding off of this metal bracket piece. So I need to push forward some more. Alright. I'm going to push forward. Now that just slid forward. Plastic pry tool, I'll just kind of pop this up here. Jessica's unboxing the new part right now. So this one comes with a new aluminum bar. So here's the new sunshade, and we're ready to put in the new piece. So I'm gonna gently just lay it in, line things up first. Make sure this is kind of forward enough of this bracket to where it'll kind of go down. Okay, that's down. And we need to slide this assembly back this way. So what you want to make sure of is that this is able to move just a little bit so that it's free. At the end of this sunshade, there's like a little tiny black ball and then like a little shiny metal piece. Make sure that's inside this channel as you assemble it. So now we need to slide this forward if we can. So I'm gonna put my pry tool like right here so that I can hammer with my rubber mallet just to move it just a little bit. Okay, I see it moving now. All right, so now let's put in the 2 pins. Then here's where the aluminum pin needs to go. And if everything's aligned, you should be able to get your pin started. So I've got the pin started. It's almost all the way to the bottom. I just use gentle force here with the hammer. So I'm ready to put the bracket back on. I'm gonna lay this on top, and it's gonna be a Torx 10. Just gently tighten that. Doesn't have to be very tight at all. Alright, so now we're going to bring this piece forward. Remember, this is under tension. It's basically pulling itself back towards the rear of the car. So I'm going to pull this forward and attach it right here. I'm going to hold this and put my screw in now. So I've got the metal bracket that's attached to the slide, now attached to the handle of the sunshade, and now I just need to tighten this down. I'm going to take this other bracket now and pull it forward. I'm going to attach it to the sunshade. I'm going to hold it because it's under tension. I'm going to put my screw in. This is a good time to test the sunshade after you've attached it back to those 2 tensioners and you've got the bracket attached to the front. So I'm going to just use this handle and slowly pull evenly. Alright, that looks good. Let's make sure it's going to roll back. Alright, so that works.
Check it off.
So now that the glass is back on, just make sure that the front part of the window, that this little metal piece is showing inside of this slit, and that you can see the screw hole. Now, what you need to do before tightening the screw back is make sure to get this aligned kind of in the middle. And to give yourself some leverage, you can actually put your hand through the open crack of the window while you're sitting inside and pull the glass forward, and you'll kind of see it kind of move there a little bit. And I'm not going to get it all the way tight just yet because I want to pull on the window. So I'm going to have one hand here on my ratchet ready to go, and I'm going to put my hand through the crack of the window and pull down or pull forward, and then That's gonna align my screw more closely in the middle of the slot, and then I'm gonna tighten that. Right now might be your best opportunity to put the rubber back into the slot at the bottom, because the glass is not fully attached yet. You can still lift it just a little bit, so that might get you a little bit of extra room to get it back in, kind of right here at the front. So I am going to attempt to get this started, and I can see the back railing. And once you have it in the rail, just make sure to kind of double check, because it kind of popped out here again. Next, I'm going to put in the 3 screws on the glass very loosely, because I'm going to be adjusting it. So, middle one. And if you get it too tight, you can just back it off just a little bit for now. And the final one, I need to lift just a little bit. I'm going to try to get the bottoms of these 2 metal brackets kind of aligned. That seems to be where it was originally, and I can also tell that the washer has kind of scratched a ring into the original bracket, so I can kind of tell where the location was. But yeah, it looks fine here too, like it's aligned. At the bottom it's aligned, so I'm actually going to tighten this just a little bit more, because I think I will like this position that it's currently in. So I just want to make sure it's a little tighter so it doesn't move on me. And if I need to adjust, then I can always loosen it again. And the front, there's really nothing I can tell there. I'm just gonna tighten that a little bit more now. And I'll come back and do a final tightening. Now here you can tell there's rings that are etched into the bracket, and so I'm going to actually lift up on the glass before tightening this all the way. Let's see if I can get this middle one. You might be able to tell that it's not quite aligned based on where the washers have kind of etched a circle, so I'm going to adjust it now to try to align it back to where it was. Alright, so now is a good time to actually test for the alignment of the panel, and so I need access to my overhead console. I'm just going to temporarily put it back into place. So just make sure that those two front tabs are tucked in under the headliner. Once you have that in place, you can just push up at the front. So what I just did is I turned on the ignition and lowered the glass panel just to make sure that the glass was aligned well from the outside and everything looked good. If you're, let's say, seeing that it's kind of misaligned, you may need to go back and actually adjust both sides of the glass panel, or perhaps even unscrewing the front screw and readjusting the glass there. So once you have it where you want, then we are ready to actually do the final tightening on the 6 screws on the side, and then I'll put the final screw here in the sunglass holder. Alright, so I'm putting this screw back in the sunglass holder. Okay. I'm gonna bend this bracket straight again, because when we took off the plastic cover it bent it inwards, so I'm just gonna realign it. Alright, that looks good. And here's the passenger side trim, and this little dip on the thick end faces towards the rear, and then it tapers here at the front. Now I'm going to get all these fasteners, try to align them with the big holes here in the metal, and then we'll push it forward. Okay. See, it's locked itself back into place. Hey, that wraps up this video. Please leave a like, comment, and consider subscribing. Thank you for watching this video and supporting this channel. See you in the next one.